So the first one, we're in the energy sector. The first one we have is KMI. Now, I first started tracking this when it was around here. Uh, I made some money on this when it was here. When it was here, I don't know if I caught it perfect, but I know I pretty much caught majority of this run on options. But what I do like is you're gonna see almost the same thing on all the energy, just because energy starting or the price of oil starting to pop. We're close to the 17. Let's look at the 3 year. So when we look at pre-corona, this was a $22 stock. We're only at 16. So there's quite a bit of running room. We're looking at 18 as literally our next big stop. If we broke, let's see if we break out of there. Okay, well, if we can break out of the 712, then our next kind of big hurdle would be right around here, which is the same. So basically, we're in this range right here. Now you can see at the bottom of the range, right around here, where it's first started its pop. That's where we are, and we're literally in this trading range, which was in 2018, so we're 3 years ago. Again, almost every single one of these securities that we're about to look at, it would have been amazing if we got it right on Corona, but we didn't. We got it right around here. But if oil can maintain where it's at, even just where it is at, let's look at the price of oil so you understand what I'm saying. So this is the 3 years as well. So if we can maintain this, let's go even further, because that it doesn't really, with the oil, I'm gonna have to show you. Okay, now we're looking at 10. This isn't 10 years ago. Yes, it was 10 years ago. So if you look, we've been in this downward trajectory. I mean, mind you, there's a lot of lines. But if you look at this big one right here, this 50% line right here, the one that I'm circling over and over and over, is like the bluish line. If you look, we have been fighting this line since December of 14. So for the last 6 years, we've been fighting this line. If we can break above this line and hold it, right? The last time we broke above and hold it, we only held it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then on the 11th month, it dropped past it. I know it sounds like a long time, but when you look at it for the last 6 years, the only time it's been above it is for 11 months. So if we can break above this line right here, what it's had so much trouble with, and hold it, as you can see, it is 60.66. We are like 40 cents below the line. Well, it kind of shows that we're above it. However, we're right at the mix, right? We're right at the line. Now, breaking the 66.77, if we break that, then I would say we're truly in an upward trajectory. But because if you look at that, that was the last time we broke above this line was and held it was 2018. So 3 years ago. If we can break above this line, then because if you see, we broke out, and this was very obvious. Last month in March, we broke out above the 66.77. So that means we broke the high of 2019, 2020. We broke all of it. The last time we had been there was October of 18, above 66.77. We broke that, got rejected, came back down right to the 100-day moving average. Remember the 100-day coming down. Now it's starting to show support. It's been resistance for years. Now remember, this is a 100-month, right? So now it's starting to show some support. If we can continuously stay above this level, look for us to trend higher. Our next huge, if we beat the 66.77, then our next target would be 73.45. Why am I telling you all this? Because it's energy. It's all based off of this. So when we go look back to KMI, we don't really need, because like, okay, years ago, when in 2015, when oil was a little higher, this stock was at $44. So we look up over here, this is the $22. So we got room to run just to pre-corona, right? So KMI, when you're looking at months out, like thing with oil, it's fickle, right? So if you're looking for a quick pop, be very careful with oil, because it can do exactly what you don't want it to do for a few months, and then out of nowhere it can just explode. So with all of these that I'm going to go through, because you can see there's 10 of them, any position that I would choose would be more looking towards the July or August, something like that, just to give it some time in case it screws up and goes against me. Let's go back to the days. So after looking at the months and everything on oil, my first bet with this one would be 17. The options on this are pretty cheap if you look. So June, September area, let's look at June. I know I said July, but June's pretty close. So even if you look, the 17 Junes are 68 cents, right? The 16s, which are already in 84 cents, so right now, if you buy the Junes, you're only paying what, 40 cents of premium, which isn't bad at all, right? And you're holding it for 75 days with the potential of it going up to damn almost 22 if oil can go. So that's a decent one. I like that. Let me go ahead and let me write that down, because you're basically holding free money. Because if I hope you understand that. If you don't understand what I just said right there, then you need to understand options a little bit better. But you're really not, because I bet you could even tell a calendar. Yeah, you could tell a calendar call, because look, I don't want to go into that. That's a little bit too confusing, and I don't want to do the math. However, KMI June 16. The 16 June. Yeah, because they don't have monthly. I like that. Looks good. Because we're looking at a 17 or basically 18 breakout, and we're trying to get the 16s for under $2. We're already 84 cents in the money. British Petroleum. Out of all of them, so let's look at the difference. Ooh, that's one thing I did not look at. Earnings. So let's look at weeks first. So we have earnings on 4/21. That would be the only deterrent for me not getting this option right here, is just for the earnings on the 19th. So I would say after earnings. I mean, what's the probability that's going to have a negative earnings when oil shot all the way up as much as it has? It's a very low probability. However, not something I want to risk. British Petroleum. When you look at the weeks, that is, it's steady making a nice grind higher. We got rejected on the 100-week moving average, kind of got rejected on the downside, but we're also building some support. Mind you, this is on the weeks. Earnings on 4/27. With all of I would be very careful going into earnings. I understand the last earnings, it was great, it popped it up, but this is weak, and if you notice on the week of the earnings, it went down, but the next week it popped up. So And the week of the earnings, it went down, and the next week it popped up. The week of the earnings, it went down, and the next week it popped up. So I'm going to take that in consideration, wait a little bit, see what happens with the earnings, and go from there. There's too much things that could happen when it comes to earnings and oil. Now this one looks decent, I will say. I know the earnings are on the 30th. So again, be very careful. But this one's showing, like, look at the difference. This is E. It's showing a little, so it's already broken, right? It already filled this gap. It's already taken out this struggle. It's already taken out this struggle. So we're looking at, where are we? So we're looking to try to take out the next struggles, and we're above the 100-week moving average. Let's go down to the day. Oh yeah, look at that. It's at a high in the last 3 years. So with that, or within the last year, it's at a high. Within the last 3 years, 40 is its high. But it looks like we're trying to go for that 32. So I would say yes with this one. But what are you doing? I'd go out in August, because this is what I'm saying. Like the 27s, $2 out. This is ridiculously cheap. You could go for the 30s for 25 cents, and you're getting, like, how many days? You're at 135 days with a target of 30. Like, we're looking at a target of 32, a target of 30 for 138 days is only 50 cents. So you're giving this is literally, you're not risking anything. You can almost get it for 25 cents or $25 for a potential of $2 easy, because that's just breaking up to right here, which it doesn't have very much thing. It has at 27 it has some defense. At 28 has a little defense, and give or take 30, 56 has defense up to the 32. So yeah, this one, I like this one better than I like the KMI, honestly, because we're giving ourselves a lot of time. Let's look at November. Bet you November's not very much more expensive. Yeah, look. So the November 27s, it's almost better to get the Novembers just because they're cheaper, right? There's nobody even thinking about these. Now, of course, let's look at the front months. The front, yeah, there's not very many. There's not very much volume in any of this, honestly. However, the November for basically $1, get to 27.50s. That would be beautiful. Let's go E 27.50 November. Sunoco. Beautiful chart. Beautiful. Went from 10, and it's basically recapped, and it's Richter's. It's all on. When the traveling comes back on, this is May 10th is its earnings. This would probably be the only one out of all of these I would be like, yeah, we could probably hold into earnings just for this one simple fact. Look how powerful this been. It has reached its bottom and gone full cylinders, all full steam ahead. Now we're about to break out, and it's almost remember, let's go in the months. Okay, so we're not close to our forever high, which was in 14 at 59. But if we break out of the 34, which we're pretty close, right? If you see this line right here, our next one is 36, 39, and then all the way up to 46. So we're looking at a 14 points of a potential, which is enormous. Let's look at this. Wrong way. Yeah, see, Even it's showing us our 42 and our 48. From the top to the bottom of that would be our 127 and our 621, with the 3409 as being our next blockage. I would want to see what it does at the 3409, break above the 3409, and then hold it and go from there. Now these are months. Let's go back to the days. So yeah, that kind of gives us some lines to kind of look at, and you can see it got stopped at the 33, which is pretty close. And if you see, these lines have been pretty consistent. It's bouncing on here, holding this line, holding, got stopped out before. Next one, let's look at that. And then if we do this every week, then we're going to be paying attention. Once it holds at 3409, then I'd be more apt to get it. The only reason I'm not right now is just because, I mean, we literally have a huge blockage in front of us. I mean, we do have a beautiful squeeze coming. Beautiful squeeze. My only thing, which is to see it get above 3409, break above, come down, then get it. On to the next one. Nope. Nope. I don't like it. I mean, I like it for the portfolio. I don't like where it is right now. $4.29. I mean, don't get me wrong. When it comes to the weekly chart, it's building it. It just the 100 weeks, it's above it, broke it, about to find support. So on the weekly chart, it looks a little bit better as it kind of stair stepping itself a little bit higher. However, on a daily, it have to break above the 50, right, for me to be interested. Let's kind of see if what it does. Our earnings are coming pretty soon. $4 is the high. Let's kind of check it out in the months. How high was this stock? 80. So when it, ooh, look at that. So this is our resistance, and this is February of 16. So our numbers are fighting right now. February of 16. That's the battle. What's going on? With this one, earnings are 429. Again, we got another week. I'll look at this. It's nowhere near its Corona value. It's like halfway through its Corona value. So I'd just watch it. Just wait. MMP. This one, if you look, I mean, this was at 90, but this is a partnership. So it's very different. The reason why this is in the portfolio, it's not in the portfolio for us to make a huge, big gain like that. This is more that's going to pay us lovely dividends, or rather partnership agreements. The higher that oil goes, the better our partnership agreements are going to be. So that's more or less where we're looking. With the monthly chart, yeah, I mean, we could break out of the 46 and we make it up to the 61, which would be great. Reversion to the mean, we're still the 100 and the 50 month moving averages are kind of trending down. It's not something I'd really want to bet my house on. That's not the reason why this is in our portfolio. This is in our portfolio for dividends. Total on the monthly, eh, it's not horrible. The daily, okay, look, on the daily, we just bouncing off the 50. So, trended. It has gone past the 50, kind of trending on the 100. So just keep that in mind that it could kind of rumble down here, but it really has to do with the price of oil. Let's not forget, this was then oil bounced up and then it kind of came down, and now oil is about to go on its trajectory, at least attempt a little bit higher. So the price of oil is going to bring all these stocks higher. The best ones to play, I'm not really quite sure. I kind of like the Sunoco. I'm gonna put Sunoco note. The KMI, Sunoco, and the E. The ones that I have written down are KMI, June, and E. Sunoco, I don't know why I didn't really figure that. Because after I want to see it hit the 3409 and then go for it. That's why Sunoco's not written down. But Sunoco looked amazing. Exxon Mobil. There, I mean, if oil continues to rise, ExxonMobil's going above 62. It's just gonna happen. Look at our months; it was like in the hundreds. Yeah, so it was at 100. We're almost at the Corona. 70 was the Corona. We had a hard time kind of breaking above the 30. I mean, we were stuck in the 30s, although basically up until what is this? The beginning of this year. So Exxon was an amazing purchase down here. Now, do I think it's gonna continue to rise and be above its glory days? Yes, I do, because they are also trying to transition to renewable energy. So this entire time that oil's been down, it's allowed these behemoths to buy a lot of energy, right? And kind of diversify their assets. And these guys have a lot of money. And they have a lot of like LLPs where they get paid a lot of just royalties off of their operations. For this moment, though, 430. When you look at the weekly, they are above the 50 and the 100, and they're. This looks decent. This looks decent. Just be careful because you're gonna get some you're gonna have some resistance right around this level of the 66. Um, Mind you, we're only starting with a small amount of option money to partake, so I can't. Not every opportunity that looks good am I gonna jump on. But that looks like a decent opportunity as long as it stays above the yellow and the red line on the weekly chart. The daily chart, it's well above it. It's well above it. I would just be a little careful and wait for the 50 to kind of creep up towards it. Uh, it doesn't look like it wants to go any lower, but it might be waiting for time for both of these to kind of go up and meet it where it's at before it takes off again. VLO. I mean, looking at the year, we're looking great. Almost great. I thought that was a Corona high. However, it's not. The Corona high was up here, 97. So we're 20 points out of the high, but we're on the weekly chart. I mean, this is kind of what you're looking for. Whoa, look at this. The 22nd. So I'd be careful on the all of these have earnings coming up, which I would like to see after the earnings what they say. But again, at all the earnings, this could really take it to like shoot the stocks higher, just for the simple fact oil has gone higher. So they're every barrel of oil they produce today, tomorrow, yesterday is at a what $20 premium than a year before. So oil should be looking good. Their numbers should come in good, but it's just nervous. You don't know. I don't know all the intricacies of each of these countries, or rather companies. So I wouldn't be 100% sure betting long on each one of these going into earnings. We don't know how much of the oil they sold 3 months prior. That's more or less what I'm talking about. Because yes, oil has gone on a skyrocket, but if they sold all their oil, let's say they sold, because it's all futures. So if they sold all their oil at $45 and it's at $60 right now, then they didn't gain anything really off this pop. They'd already sold it at 45. So they didn't lose, but they didn't gain. So then that would take another 3 months, which would come up in the June earning or June, July, something like that, August earnings report, which on that one would pop it, right? If oil maintained at a certain level above 60, because then on the second one, if they sell in that quarter, then they sold it at 60 opposed to 45. I understand maybe not the most best description. If you followed me, great. If you didn't, I apologize. Chevron. Chevron and Valero kind of look the same. As in they came, now they're looking to kind of pop. But Chevron looks a little bit better, I will say. It is finding its support at its mid, just as June of last year when it got rejected from the 50 week. It is above that level. We are sniffing this. So we're right at, okay, so yeah, our high, this high over here, is at the bottom of this range. So the whole 2000, what year is it? 2019, the 2019 range, we are at the bottom of it, which is really nice. Um, and we're above the before the perfect storm, right? So the low of that was give or take 105.61. We're at 105.75. So if we can hold above that 105.61, and time kind of brings these higher, then Chevron would be something I would love to see. Let's see when their earnings. 4:30. So at the end of this month, the end of this month, we're gonna see a lot bouncing around in the oil market. So yeah, look, it was at a 112. This bad boy wants to go higher. It wants to be above 112. I can feel it. It again, it might be a couple more days. Let the 100 and the 50-day moving average move up closer, and then I'm guessing it's gonna absorb both these marks because it wanted to go down, but it almost did. We're looking at 199, basically $1 away from touching. So let's wait a little bit because now if you look at it, uh, the 50 is now at this level. So if it goes a little bit higher, if this maintains it, then the 50 is going to go a little bit higher, and it'll probably reach around the 102. So when the 50 gets to about 102, if it touches it, then I could see it skyrocketing from there. All right, that's all of them, and talk to you next week.